I never play the things. I don't touch them.
Now on CNET Central.
Yuck! There's more violence in video games than ever before. Some say the blood and guts have gone too far. Others just say,
How you like that?
Finding a long-lost friend can be easy using the web. How it worked for these young men and how it can work for you.
the reviews are out and The Lost World is a smash. Now it's time for a sneak preview of the new Lost World video game.
Plus news about controlling where your personal information goes in cyberspace and how to pick up any radio signal with your computer.
Before you hit the links, you'll want to check out our best of the web. This week we've got the best golf and tennis sites around. And if you're inflamed about something you've seen online, I think we have the perfect solution for you right now on CNET Central.
Now, from the #1 on-air and online information source for the digital age, this is CNET Central.
Hi, I'm Richard Hart.
And I'm Gina St. John. Welcome to CNET Central.
A new wave of almost absurdly violent video games is sweeping the gaming industry. Developers are going where the money is, producing games that provide the gamer with more explosions and violence in the first 5 minutes than they'll see in a whole summer of action blockbusters.
Splatterfest software like Duke Nukem and Blood have replaced older games like Mortal Kombat and Doom as the new kings of terror. And there's no doubt these games are popular, according to PC data. Duke Nukem 3D is currently the best-selling of any computer game on the market.
So, naturally, some sociologists and politicians are arguing these games are too violent. They say these games desensitize us, affecting the way we perceive real violence. Others say it's simply a safe way to relieve aggression and have fun.
I kind of like the violence to it. Makes it more interesting.
What they're actually pretending to do in a game is kill or maim or murder or beat up.
Like hitting someone and then blood goes flying everywhere.
The debate rages on, and it's bloodier than ever. Are video games too violent? Darren McKeeman doesn't think so.
How you like that?
And he's been playing these kinds of games for 15 years.
When you get the right move going and you are able to grab the other person and pound them into the dirt and make it look really spectacular, it's just a real rush.
Images of exploding corpses, murder, and mayhem are all commonplace in these digital playgrounds, and that has some sociologists concerned. Donald Roberts, a professor at Stanford University, says when violent acts are rewarded in these games, they're more likely to be imitated.
This is one of the things that bothers me most about the video game violence, because it is in fact the game player who is rewarded for decapitating or blowing away the next character that appears on the screen.
I don't think that games influence people's actions if there are things that they do that are inappropriate in society. More than likely, they've been influenced by other things in their lives.
GT Interactive, makers of some of the most violent games on the market, also add their games' graphics are cartoonish by nature. The content should not be taken seriously.
A lot of games, the violence, if you want to call it violence, occurs between monsters that don't exist in life. You couldn't possibly look at an everyday scene out of life and say, gee, that just happened in the game. They're not the same.
To say that, well, we know that's fantasy, it's just a game, is totally beside the point. We now, in the United States Army, train our tank corps by the same kinds of virtual reality systems. The guys who are going through that know it's a game. But when they score kills, they get rewarded and they get promoted and they get pats on the back, and they generalize what they've learned to a real-world setting.
And it's the translation into real-world violence that has many politicians, including United States Senator Joe Lieberman, worried.
The gift these products give is to communicate the message that killing is cool and that viciousness is, in fact, some kind of virtue.
But Darren McKeeman doesn't see it that way. He believes these games are just another form of entertainment.
The fun bit about it is actually being able to play against other people, being able to play against your friends, and sometimes it can get out a lot of aggression.
Which is probably one reason these games are so popular. But Robert says turning violence into entertainment can desensitize us to the real violence in society.
If you are continually bathed in a diet of media violence, that after a while it doesn't mean that much to you, that you in fact become desensitized to the sufferings of others.
To help inform and advise parents and adults of violent content, Professor Roberts created the Recreational Software Advisory Council, otherwise known as RSAC. RSAC is a self-rating system which measures the level of violence, sex, and explicit language for game software.
If you want more information about RSAC, check out their website at www.rsac.org. And for those of you who want to try out some of these violent games, just for investigative purposes, I'm sure, head over to cnetsdownload.com for free downloads of Duke Nukem, Quake, and Blood.
You know, I think this is one of those situations where as much as some people would like to do something about it, practically speaking, they can't. Technology can be used for good or evil. The choice is yours.
Well, here's a time when it's being
online, how to get back. And later, as Spielberg's Dino Fest roars through the theaters, we take a sneak peek at the companion video game.
I don't let my kids play them. I mean, there are a lot of them out there that are just, you know, shooting and guns, and I don't do that.
You see more violent stuff on the news.
No, I think it's a good release for them. I think it's a great way for them to get their aggressions out.
What happened to good old Pac-Man and stuff like that, you know? I mean, I really think that's kind of sad.
Net News is sponsored by IBM, Solutions for a Small Planet.
Some of the net's biggest junk emailers are considering a ceasefire thanks to backbone internet service provider Aegis. That provider gives internet access to most of the net's spammers. Now Aegis is ordering bulk mailer cyber promotions and others to stop spamming unwilling netizens. Or Aegis will kick the spammers off its service. According to the new rules, spammers must filter out the names of people who don't want spam from bulk mail lists. The way your personal information is shared online could soon change. The World Wide Web Consortium, a group that helps set net standards, is working on a way for netizens to customize and control their own online personal profiles. It's called the Open Profiling Standard. Netizens create a profile on a hard disk drive and then release it online at their discretion. You could then log on to websites without filling out lengthy registrations and have control over where your personal information goes. The plan could take up to 3 years to implement. The nation's internet companies are voicing concern over who will be the FCC's new chairperson. Reed Hunt, the man who ushered the Federal Communications Commission into the new information age, has stepped down. He is the first FCC chair ever to log on to the net and is responsible for the Commission's recent decision to bring all the nation's schools online with a $2 billion grant. Internet companies and associations are hoping the FCC's new chairperson will have the same appreciation for internet issues. Hunt will continue as chairman until President Clinton appoints his successor. If you're a major movie buff, you'll welcome a new comprehensive film site called MovieFinder.com. It launches this week with locator listings for movies on television, in theaters, rental shops, and stores across the country. With it, you can search new, recent, and upcoming theater and video titles, current and upcoming TV movies, plus tap movie news and stats. Also available are video clips, plot summaries, and movie reviews from MovieFinder's sister site, eOnline. eOnline is a partner of CNET. And head to cnetsnews.com for all the latest news from the digital world. That's our news for now.
Thanks, Richard. You know, in this rapidly changing digital world, new terms appear constantly. So each week we answer your most frequently asked questions or facts. And here to give us the latest is our own Sofie Formica. Hey there, Sofie.
Hey, Gina. Thanks very much. Well, we all know what it's like to have a heated argument, but what if the argument takes place over the internet? That's what this week's Fact File is all about. Jessica Michelson from Phoenix, Arizona asks, what is a flame? Well, Jessica, a flame is a term that refers to an insult or the use of profanity online. Most often, these heated comments are sent to another person via email or are used in an online chat or posting forum. But sending a flame is considered a breach of online etiquette or netiquette when it comes to the online world. So a few words of caution. Watch your language online as you would in a face-to-face conversation. Sometimes it gets easy to get carried away when you're typing furiously at your keyboard. Now, if there are any other words or phrases about computing that you need some help with, send me an email at thefactfile@cnet.com or through regular mail to the fact file 150 Chestnut Street, San Francisco, California 94111. Also, if you head on over to cnet.com, we do post a more detailed answer to each week's question, as well as those fact file addresses if you didn't have a chance to write them down.
The Best of the Web is brought to you by MCI One. Life just got simpler.
Grab your clubs and your racket because we're going to play a little golf and tennis in cyberspace for our picks in this week's Best of the Web. First, we drive over to the Global Golf Guide. At this site, you'll find hundreds of hyperlinks to the world's best golf links, from Dural's Blue Monster to the famous Spyglass Hill. Check out summaries and photos of all of your favorites. And this site is packed with multimedia. There's QuickTime movie flybys along with the virtual reality walkthroughs. If you want to scope out some of the best courses to play in the world, this site can't be missed. And to play with the best golfer in the world, we swing over to golfweb.com. Now you can keep up with Tiger Mania at his home in cyberspace. Visit the multimedia gallery for photos of his Masters victory or click on Tiger Talk for a little chatting. There's also tour stats, scorecards, and news of his upcoming tournaments. Now, if you'd rather get the scoop on some tennis tournaments, then check out the ATP Tour online. This site serves up all the latest happenings on the men's tennis circuit. Follow your favorites from Andre Agassi to Pete Sampras as they go for the Grand Slam. You'll also find player stats, photos, and tour rankings. And don't forget to visit the Pro Shop for official tour caps, sweats, and t-shirts. For more Best of the Web, hop over to cnet.com. This week's feature also includes a look at Runner's World and the women's tennis circuit.
A bit differently. Whether you want to see the World Wide Web like the folders inside your computer, or you want to take a bird's eye view, Hot Sauce will let you change perspectives.
Instead of seeing one page at a time, you can see several layers deep into the web and have a visual sense of where you're going and where things are.
The theory is to start getting computers to think like we do. For example, if you work on a presentation using several different programs, you probably don't think of everything in a straight line. These technologies would begin breaking down the walls between applications and let you see what you need to the way you would naturally organize it.
We're creating techniques that exploit our human skills, our visual spatial skills.
Insight Technology, a Xerox PARC company, is building what they call Viz Tools, a number of information visualization technologies that take advantage of how we use our peripheral vision.
So even if you're looking right at the focus of something, if you see motion off in the corner, your peripheral vision catches that motion and you know you should attend to it.
You could look at it in what they call a hyperbolic tree, where the information you're focusing on keeps sliding closer to the center and the information in context is near the edges of your screen.
They could see it all, and they don't have to think about it all. When they see something that's important, they start to think about that.
Now, wait a minute, Hari. I went to search.com. I typed in Hari, and I didn't find you anywhere.
I think the key word was important. I think you forgot the word important there. That's
okay.
Really...
Well, when will these technologies be available to the rest of us, and when will it be on the market?
Right now, Hot Sauce is available as a plugin for Netscape, and there are hundreds of sites that will let you virtually fly through them, CNET included. Insight is already licensing their technology to software makers, but how soon you see it will really depend on how soon a standard is established. Because what you're talking about is trying to set a standard for these different viewpoints, much like HTML was a standard for web publishing. And those standards don't come overnight.
Well, don't go away. When we come back, it is payback time for the king of spammers. And if all the pieces to your favorite board game are currently nestled somewhere between the cushions of your couch, like it is in mine, don't worry, they're now available on your computer.
If somebody has a problem with their children hooking in on it, that's something they can censor themselves, but not to deprive us of any literature or information. It's definitely outrageous.
It's hard to say that you'd be for censoring, but I think that too many little kids are getting exposed to too many things.
I think that government needs to be out of the question, but needs to be supporting the technology and the resources to help families and exercise their own judgment.
Yeah, I think the government should step in. So sometimes the parents don't have enough time to teach their kids.
I wouldn't look to the government to filter who calls me on the telephone or who emails me or who is in a chat room that my children may get involved in.
In this week's Net News, finally some good news from internet service provider America Online. They just launched their own internet search engine. It's called NetFind. The new Net engine is available to AOL members as well as non-members. You can access it through AOL.com, Microsoft's website, or the ABC News site. NetFind lets you search by categories such as business, people, news groups, and kids. And along with the engine, AOL's packaging informational content from sites like MapQuest and Hoover's Business Directory. The provider is also teaming up with Excite to do website reviews. Look for another new net service this week, this time from Microsoft. It's a localized online entertainment directory called Sidewalk. The first installment on this city-by-city catalog will be up and running April 3rd. It features all the entertainment info you need to know about Microsoft's hometown, Seattle. Info on other major U.S. cities will follow later in the year. Log on to look up Seattle's best arts events or simply to find some good seafood. Microsoft's also teaming up with NBC to launch an online business news service with streaming audio and video. MSNBC's business video site offers live coverage of world business news for a monthly fee of $25. The site plans to chronicle market-moving events with analysis and exclusive interviews from CNBC news sources in North America, Europe, and Asia. The service can be received on any 486 PC with a modem, sound card, and speakers. Hackers are attacking the website of the very unpopular Sanford Wallace, otherwise known as the Spam King behind super spammer Cyber Promotions, Inc. Wallace's junk email site was cracked into at least twice by hackers seeking revenge on the spammer. The hackers altered a web page, then stole a password file from Wallace, posting it to internet news groups. The file contained names and phone numbers of Cyber Promotions clients. This week, a federal judge ruled that the domain name www.plannedparenthood.com violated the family planning organization's trademark. An anti-abortion activist was using the name to lure netizens into what they thought was pro-choice family planning information. Planned Parenthood of America sought an injunction against the misleading site and won. You can find Planned Parenthood at its .org addresses. To get more on these stories and stay up on all the daily developments of the digital world, you'll want to make sure to visit CNETnews.com.
Thanks, Richard. Now, the biggest computer kid here at CNET is John C. Dvorak, and he's ready to review the latest in board games on CD-ROM. Now, you know, this one is Clue. We all know the game. It's from Hasbro, but they have done all of our games today.
Yeah, Hasbro's gotten into the CD-ROM game business in a big way. Unfortunately, with this game, they're clueless. In case you need a refresher course, Clue is a whodunit, and it's your job to find out the who, the what, the where. Did Colonel Mustard do it, or how about Professor Plum? Was it in the billiard room with the candlestick or the rope? Sounds fun, right? Well, not the CD-ROM version. Clue disappoints at every turn. Here's the problem. It's lame. The acting is cheesy and the gameplay is slow. Just try to unravel the mystery of Arlington Hall and find out who did in Mr. Body, if you don't die of boredom first. For those looking for the classic board game on CD-ROM, they definitely won't find it here. This is a skip it. Doesn't do the board game justice. In fact, it just plain stinks.
Okay, well, moving on to this board game, it's Battleship. I want to know, does it sink, does it swim, does it just bob in the water?
Well, taking a board game and making it into a CD-ROM, they came up with a winner. Battleship has arrived digitally, and there's some dramatic differences from the original game. Instead of calling out E5, just drag your mouse to the desired square and fire away. The graphics are excellent. You can play head-to-head against the computer or over a network with a friend. Hey, you sunk my battleship. If you get tired of the classic game, move on to a more advanced version. But watch out, this is a complex game, folks, using all of the elements of the classic version, battle it out in multiple scenarios, from oil wars to island hops. Find your waypoint, zoom in, and go to war real time. This is a big-time buy it. Great job of turning a board game into a CD-ROM. Highly recommended.
Now, this particular board game is over 65 years old. Now on CD-ROM, it's Scrabble. Tell me how it goes.
You know, if you like Scrabble, you'll probably like this CD-ROM. Scrabble diehards can now celebrate with the CD-ROM version of this classic word game. From double word scores to triple word scores, this game has all the staples of the analog version. J is still worth 8, Q 10. And there are a couple fun features that you can't find in the original game. Try your luck against the computer or in the multiplayer mode over the net. And if you get stuck on a word, well, I found myself clicking the hint button a few times. I knew nacho was a word, but nucha? Cheaters everywhere will like this feature. And you can use artificial intelligence to let the computer simulate the best possible move for you. Who knows, you just might find that all-elusive bingo. I give this a try. I really like this game. It's a little tough at the lower levels. If you're a novice, you might get beat by the computer too often.
You gotta trust this guy. He's playing more games than anybody I know.
Thanks.
What a tough job. If you'd like to find out more pearls of CD-ROM wisdom from John C. Dvorak, make sure you go to cnet.com. There you'll find the complete index of all of his past reviews on CNET Central.
Stay with us because just ahead, Desmond will show us the latest gadget to put the power of your computer into the palm of your hand.
If you've been computer shopping lately, you've probably come across some unfamiliar names and numbers. But our own Fact File correspondent, Sofie Formica, she's here to help us cut through some of that jargon.
Thanks, Gina. Well, having a computer that runs really fast is something almost everyone wants, but what makes that happen? That's the topic of this week's Fact File question. Achilles Aplaska from New York writes, what's the difference between a Pentium Pro, and a PowerPC chip, and which is the fastest? Well, to start with, all of those names are types of microprocessors or tiny chips that run your computer, kind of like the engine in a car. For starters, Pentium chips are commonly used in PCs and PC compatibles, and PowerPC chips are used in Macs and Mac clones. A Pentium Pro chip is just the fastest version of a Pentium chip. In a nutshell, it has more horsepower. In fact, all chips are measured by their speed. That's why when you're shopping for a computer, you'll see advertisements saying a computer runs at something like 133 megahertz. And chips come in a range of speeds, so the higher the number, the faster the chip. For example, the fastest Pentium Pro chip runs at 200 megahertz, but less expensive versions run at lower speeds are also available. For Mac users, a 240 megahertz PowerPC chip is the fastest chip available right now, but this will all change soon because manufacturers keep churning out faster chips. You keep paying for them. Now, if you're confused about any of the terms or technologies we feature here on CNET Central, we'd like to help. So send your question to the Fact File at cnet.com or through regular mail to the Fact File, 150 Chestnut Street, San Francisco, California 94111. And if you want to know more about microprocessors, head on over to cnet.com. You'll also find those Fact File addresses and each week's question and answer.
Thank you, Gina. Now, if you're doing that processing on the go, you probably could use a personal digital assistant. And Desmond Crisis is here from CNET Labs with the latest from U.S. Robotics.
This is the Palm Pilot Professional. It's a little upgrade from the Palm Pilot that came out a couple months ago. The big advantages is this one has a backlit display. We finally figured out that people use organizers at nighttime. It also has a little bit more memory, and this one can actually handle a network.
Now, one of the complaints about the early PDAs, beginning with the Newton, of course, was that it was almost impossible to be sure that whatever you had entered in your palm synchronized with what you had on your desktop.
Yeah, that's right. It also required a lot of extra software and some confusing cables. This has solved most of those problems by adding a docking adapter. So all you do is drop it in this hot sink adapter, is what they call it. Push one button and the whole process goes. It meshes the files on your organizer with the files on your PC so they'll always match.
Now notice there is no appointment on this day in the computer on the desktop. We've entered some in the palm top version of the organizer, and those two appointments just appear right there like
there
magic.
You go.
Now does this mean, since it is email capable, that I can use this to use any internet service provider and just check my email?
Well, not exactly. Although it is supposed to handle a TCP/IP type connection, right now it wants to talk to a certain computer, a computer running this type of software. So if you've read your mail on your own computer, it will happen.
Now, it works on PC and Macintosh and works with Microsoft Exchange, for instance, on the PC desktop. Okay, now the question about handwriting. Is this any better?
Well, it's a little better. This one has graffiti, and that is a new type of writing. It's based on one stroke for everything you do. You'll have to learn how to operate it.
It didn't take me that long to learn it on my Newton, you know.
No, it's not that tough, but I don't want to write anything with an organizer.
Okay, how much and when can I get one?
Well, it's right under $300 for the Palm Pilot Pro right about now. There's also a modem available so you can sync things up remotely. That's about $129. Network capability so you can dial into your computer's or your company's dial-up system. That'll be available June 97.
Okay, Desmond, thanks once again.
Thank you.
Make a note of that.
I will.
On CNET, the digital domain.
The best of the web is brought to you by MCI One. Life just got simpler.
The web has come a long way since it was used for research in the mid-'70s. And just to prove it, here are some of our favorite best of the websites for science buffs. First, we examine the Scientific American website. In print for over 150 years, this popular magazine is now on the web. Check out the latest in scientific research on everything from gene therapy to the Ebola virus. Or go back in time for a look at one of their very first issues, dating back to 1847 and probing the essence of coffee. Most noteworthy is the Ask the Expert section. Could a meteorite have possibly collided with TWA Flight 800? Write in your question and get the answer online. Next, we go back to school at Cornell University's Exploration Site. Savvy students of science can now visit Cornell's Theory Center and seek out answers to over 500 science projects now in progress. From exploring a fusion test reactor to investigating the problems of plasma turbulence, you'll find this site is not for the scientifically challenged. And from New York to California, our scientific pilgrimage continues with a visit to Pasadena's Mount Wilson Observatory. Since 1908, this famous observatory has been offering tours to the public. Well, now you can take a virtual tour right from your desktop. Check out a variety of telescopes and enjoy a fully enhanced multimedia experience. For more Best of the Web, visit cnet.com. This week's feature also includes a forum for women's health issues and another site devoted to keeping you healthy. For more information on anything you've seen on this week's show, the place to go is cnet.com. We have an in-depth review of the Palm Pilot we showed you earlier, as well as an update on the Communications Decency Act.
That's CNET Central for this week. Thanks for tuning in and logging on.
Thanks for joining us this week on CNET, the digital domain.